The night everything changed started like any other high-stakes evening in Manhattan. I was at a charity gala, smiling for cameras, shaking hands with investors, when I felt her presence shift behind me. Something was wrong. My bodyguard Riley had been with me for 8 months, and I'd learned to read her movements like a language. This wasn't her usual alert stance. This was something else entirely. Before I dive into what happened next, let me ask, what city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to help this channel grow. Your support means everything. My name is Jordan Matthews, and I am the founder of a tech startup that went from my garage to $1 billion valuation in 3 years. Success came with visibility came with threats, and threats brought Riley into my life. She was former Secret Service, trained to handle everything from physical attacks to digital surveillance. Professional, disciplined, always 3 steps ahead. That's why when she leaned close that night and whispered, "We need to leave now," I didn't question her. We slipped out through the kitchen, bypassing the main exits. Riley's hand hovered near my lower back, not quite touching, guiding me through staff corridors I didn't know existed. Her jaw was tight, eyes scanning every shadow. Outside, instead of our usual car, a nondescript sedan waited. She opened the door, checked the interior, then motioned me inside. "What's happening?" I asked as she slid into the driver's seat. She didn't answer immediately, just pulled into traffic with the kind of precision that comes from tactical driving training. Finally, she said, "There was someone at the gala who shouldn't have been there. Credentials didn't match. I'm taking you somewhere safe until my team clears the situation." Somewhere safe turned out to be a small apartment in Brooklyn I'd never heard of. Riley unlocked 3 different locks and swept every room before letting me enter. The place was sparse but comfortable, clearly a safe house. I stood in the middle of the living room, adrenaline fading, leaving me shaky. "How long do we stay here?" I asked. "Until morning at least." She was already on her phone, coordinating with her team. I watched her work, noting the tension in her shoulders, the way her free hand kept moving to check her weapon. This wasn't routine protocol. Something had genuinely spooked her. Hours passed. Riley positioned herself by the window, watching the street. I tried to work on my laptop but couldn't focus. Around midnight, she finally stepped away from her post and sat across from me. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I know this disrupts your schedule. Don't apologize for keeping me alive," I replied. "That's literally your job." She smiled slightly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's more than a job now." The words hung between us. I'd felt something shifting between us for weeks, maybe months. The way her gaze would linger a fraction too long. How her hand would steady me during crowded events with a touch that felt personal, not professional. The conversations that stretched beyond security briefings into genuine connection. But Riley never crossed lines. Until tonight. "What do you mean?" I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. She looked down at her hands. "I broke protocol tonight. The threat assessment didn't warrant immediate extraction. I could have handled it on site. But when I saw that person near you, all I could think was that I couldn't let anything happen to you. Not because you're my client, because you're you." My heart was pounding. "Riley, double quotes. I know this is inappropriate. I know I'm supposed to maintain professional distance. But Jordan, I can't keep pretending I don't feel what I feel." She met my eyes. "You're brilliant, funny, kind in ways no one sees because they're too busy seeing the success. Being near you every day, watching you navigate impossible situations with grace, listening to you talk about your dreams at 3 in the morning when you can't sleep. I tried to keep boundaries. But tonight, when I thought you might be in danger, I realized I'd do anything to protect you, not as your bodyguard. As someone who cares about you more than she should, I couldn't breathe." For months I'd been telling myself the connection was one-sided, that Riley's attention was professional courtesy. I'd buried my feelings, convinced myself that the flutter in my chest when she smiled was just gratitude. But hearing her confession made all my own suppressed emotions surge to the surface. "You're not the only one who's been pretending," I admitted. "I hired you because you were the best. But somewhere along the way, I started looking forward to seeing you every morning. I'd extend meetings just to have you nearby. I memorized your coffee order, the way you tap your thumb against your thigh when you're thinking, how you tilt your head when you're listening to someone. Riley, you're not just my bodyguard. You're the person I think about before I fall asleep. She stood slowly, crossed the small space between us. This changes everything. I know. I stood too. We were inches apart. So what do we do? I should resign. Transfer you to someone else. It's the right thing professionally. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her conflict. What if I don't want you to? I asked. What if I want to figure this out together? It's complicated. There are rules, ethical considerations. If my judgment is compromised because of personal feelings. Your judgment saved my life tonight, protocol or not. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. Maybe your feelings make you better at protecting me, not worse. She looked at our joined hands. Or maybe they make me reckless. We stood there, the weight of confession settling around us. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with late-night activity. Inside, everything felt suspended, fragile. Riley's thumb traced small circles on my palm, an unconscious gesture that sent electricity through me. I've never done this before, she said quietly. I've had relationships, but never while working. Never with a client. I don't know how to navigate this. Neither do I. I stepped closer. But I know I don't want to go back to pretending tomorrow. I can't. She cupped my face with her free hand, touched gentle despite her strength. Jordan, if we do this, we do it carefully. We protect you first, always, and we're honest. About everything. No matter how complicated it gets. Deal? She kissed me then, soft and tentative, like she was still afraid of crossing an invisible line. I kissed her back, months of tension dissolving into certainty. When we pulled apart, she was smiling for real this time. This is definitely breaking protocol, she murmured. Good. We spent the rest of that night talking, really talking, about everything we'd held back. She told me about growing up in Texas, about choosing security work after losing someone she loved to violence. I told her about the loneliness of success, about building a company but feeling disconnected from people. We shared fears and hopes, and all the small details you learn when facades fall away. Dawn found us curled together on the couch, her arm around me, my head on her shoulder. Her phone buzzed with an all clear from her team. We could go back to my apartment. Back to real life and all its complications. What happens now? I asked. We figure it out. She kissed my forehead. But first, I need to disclose this to my supervisor and work out the ethical protocols. If they require me to step aside, I will. Your safety is non-negotiable. And us? Also non-negotiable. She smiled. I just broke the biggest professional rule of my career. I'm not walking away from you now. The following days were intense. Riley disclosed our relationship to her security company. There were meetings, paperwork, new protocols established. She was reassigned to an advisory role on my security rather than direct protection, with another bodyguard taking over day-to-day duties. It was the right call professionally, but it felt wrong being separated from her. We started dating officially, carefully. Dinner at quiet restaurants where we could talk without being photographed. Walks through parks where nobody recognized me. She showed me parts of the city I'd never explored, places far from boardrooms and galas. I introduced her to my small circle of close friends, who'd never seen me this happy. My new bodyguard Marcus was excellent at his job but lacked Riley's intuition. I missed her constant presence, the silent communication we'd developed. She still consulted on my security, attended planning meetings, but it wasn't the same as having her beside me every day. 3 weeks after that night in Brooklyn, I made a decision. I called Riley and asked her to meet me at my office after hours. When she arrived, I had a proposal ready. Start your own security firm, I said. I'll be your first client. You set the protocols, hire the team, define the ethical boundaries however you need to. But I want you back. She stared at me. Jordan, that's a massive undertaking. You've talked about going independent for years. You have the expertise, the contacts, the reputation. I'll provide seed funding as an investment, separate from security costs. Build something of your own. And if dating a client is still problematic, then we adjust. But at least we'd be making those decisions, not following someone else's rules. She was quiet for a long time, thinking it through from every angle. That was Riley, always thorough. Finally, she nodded. Okay, but on one condition. When I'm working, I'm working. Professional boundaries stay clear. Our relationship exists in the spaces between security, not during. I can live with that. And I hire a partner. Someone who can handle protection when I'm compromised by personal feelings. Redundancy is critical. Whatever you need. She smiled, that rare full smile that transformed her entire face. Then let's do it. Riley launched her security firm within 2 months. She brought on former colleagues, built a team of exceptional professionals. I was indeed her first client, but others followed quickly. Her reputation for excellence preceded her. She created protocols that allowed personal relationships while maintaining security integrity, something she believed was possible with the right checks and balances. Our relationship deepened alongside her business growth. We learned to separate professional time from personal time to communicate clearly about boundaries. When she was working, she was all business. But when we were off the clock, she was fully present, attentive, loving in ways I'd never experienced. She met my family 6 months in. My parents were initially skeptical, concerned about the bodyguard client origins of our relationship, but Riley won them over with her quiet competence and genuine care for me. My younger sister called me afterward and said, "She's perfect for you. Don't screw this up." I met her family in Texas over Christmas. Her mother hugged me like I already belonged. Her father grilled me about my business with genuine interest. Her teenage niece asked if we were going to get married, making Riley blush furiously. I just laughed and said we'd see. But privately, I was thinking about it. About forever with this woman who'd broken protocol to protect not just my life, but my heart. A year after that night in Brooklyn, Riley took me back to the safe house apartment. She'd kept the lease, turned it into an actual home with furniture and personal touches. Photographs on the walls, books on shelves, evidence of life rather than just survival. "I wanted to bring you back here," she said as we stood in the living room where we'd first confessed our feelings. "This is where everything changed for us. Where I stopped being just your bodyguard and started being your partner." I looked around, remembering that night with perfect clarity. The fear, the tension, the moment everything shifted. "Best protocol violation ever." She laughed, then took my hands. "Jordan Matthews, you've made me happier than I ever thought possible. You've supported my dreams, believed in me, stood by me while I figured out how to balance loving you with protecting you. You're my best friend, my partner, my home." She pulled out a small box, and my heart stopped. I know we've only been together a year. I know some people might say it's too fast. But when you spend every day knowing someone could be the last, you learn not to waste time. I want every day with you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me? I was crying, nodding before I could even speak. Yes. Absolutely yes. She slid a simple, elegant ring onto my finger, then kissed me like she kissed me that first night, full of promise and certainty. We held each other in that Brooklyn apartment, the place where everything changed, and I knew I'd made the right choice trusting her that night. Every choice since had led us here. We married 6 months later in a small ceremony with close friends and family. She walked down the aisle in a perfectly tailored suit. I wore a dress I designed with her in mind. When we exchanged vows, she promised to protect my heart with the same dedication she protected my life. I promised to love her through every complication, every challenge, every beautiful moment ahead. Our life together wasn't without challenges. Balancing her security work with our relationship required constant communication. There were times when her professional judgment conflicted with her personal feelings, times when I had to trust her decisions even when they scared me. But we navigated it together, always coming back to that foundation of honesty we'd built that first night. Riley's company grew into one of the most respected security firms in the country. She hired more women, particularly LGBTQ+ women, creating opportunities in a male-dominated field. She became a speaker on ethical security practices, on how personal connection can enhance rather than compromise professional judgment. I continued building my company, but with Riley beside me, success felt different. Less lonely, more meaningful. She reminded me to celebrate wins, to rest when needed, to prioritize relationships over endless work. She balanced me in ways I hadn't known I needed. 3 years after getting married, we adopted a daughter. Watching Riley hold our baby for the first time, seeing this tough, protective woman melt into tenderness, I fell in love with her all over again. She approached parenthood the way she approached everything, with dedication and fierce love. People still ask how we make it work, the complexity of our relationship's origins. I tell them it's simple. That night Riley broke protocol, she chose love over rules. And every day since, we've kept choosing each other. Through complications and challenges, through professional boundaries and personal vulnerability, through every moment that matters. That's the real story of how my bodyguard broke protocol and changed everything. It wasn't just about breaking rules, though we did that. It wasn't just about falling in love, though that happened too. It was about 2 women brave enough to acknowledge feelings they were unsupposed to have and build something real from that honesty. If you're still watching, thank you for being here. Subscribe if you haven't already. This channel exists because of your support. Drop a comment and tell me what you think. I read everyone. Because at the end of the day, the best protocol violations are the ones that lead to love. And I'd break every rule again to have her by my side.